I'm Phil McLean and I'm a botanist, a specialist botanist within the Environmental Law Enforcement Directorate of Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning for the Western Cape Government. My job is to investigate especially illegal clearing of indigenous vegetation. Principally, the office here will receive a complaint, and then I have compiled a set of questions and desktop analyses that we conduct before we leave to go on a site inspection. So we start with the computers and we have a look at where the site is in physical space. Particularly in terms of my mandate, I look at what the expected vegetation cover is mapped there for that site. Hey guys, so we're going to go out today to have a look here. So this is just outside Wolseley on the common. We're going to go into this section over here. If you look at the threat status, this is all the endangered area where the endangered vegetation was, and most of it is now covered with the urban town and farmlands. So this really is a last small remaining patch of indigenous and endangered vegetation. I think it's quite key that we make sure that there hasn't been a transgression here, or that if there has, we bring them to book. Then we will plan a site visit, and then my job on site is to analyze what was damaged or destroyed and what it was, what vegetation cover was it, and how important was it. The contractor was supposed to have cut a firebreak to protect both the farm and the indigenous veld and the houses behind there. But in order to, I guess, save time or maybe through misunderstanding, the contractor came in here with a backhoe and plowed this soil completely out. You can see here how they removed probably 1/2 meter or more of the surface material and have created this bare patch. And this is particularly bad for fynbos. Fynbos is a fire-adapted vegetation type, so it likes to burn, but it doesn't tolerate soil disturbance. The other problem is that invasive species like this growing at our feet here are pretty adaptive to that kind of disturbance, and they can grow back much faster than the indigenous fynbos. I guess what's not in fynbos's favor is that from a distance, it looks like a pretty bland vegetation type. And yet, when you come into it and you get down on your knees, this is where you can appreciate the real diversity and everything that's going on. So we've also got about 5 or 6 species over here, but they're all different from the 5 or 6 species immediately adjacent to the same patch. Where almost anywhere else in the world, if you find 5 or 6 species in one patch, that's a lot. But it'll be the same for the whole patch of land. So this patch that we're standing on is actually really important because it's in the middle of a housing and agricultural area. So it's one of the last little fragments of this type of vegetation that's left.
Enforcement requires you to have a high degree of information, and you need to be certain of the facts. When we talk about enforcement in this department, which differs to some of the other provinces, I think, is we've got a strong focus on the criminal enforcement element. Now, like when you've got these more serious crimes in the court, it's up to the state to be able to prove that the transgressor is guilty of an offense. And to be able to do that, you need some specialists. And this is where the department has been able to utilize the SANBI funding to employ botanical specialists.
The specialist's role is to provide weight to the state's case in such a way that if it does go to court, it will be successful.
Our staff is more generalist. They understand the process, they understand the legislation, and they say what must happen. He, however, can put together a very specialist report on what the actual botanical impact has been on a certain areas.
The botanical expertise that I've tried to share with everyone is in the main to give everyone in enforcement a better understanding of what it is that we're enforcing for. You get to hear, look, 300 squares of vegetation that's critically endangered, but to know what that actually means in terms of what these species are, what they look like in some cases, and how special and important they are, and how special and important the biodiversity is. I think that message has been disseminated into enforcement. planting plants around.
So he's had a big capacity building component to his job in terms of training the other officers. The interns that he's got, for example, those are the graduates, those are the graduate interns that we have, and they are the environmental officers of the future. So by giving them this exposure early on in their careers, they would be able to apply the knowledge that they have. I think it's wonderful. It is absolutely marvelous that we can get the funding opportunities like the project, the Jeff project that SANBI is running, to be manifested in the department.
My experience of working within enforcement has been really positive. It's been a pleasure working here in a place that everybody really is pulling in the same direction. I think we in the Western Cape really can protect what's left of our shrinking biodiversity. We can certainly get on top of it and protect it for future generations.